What is up, guys? Today I want to talk about my updated thoughts of the Samsung Galaxy A51 with Android 11 mid 2021. Let's go ahead and get into it here. And where are we at price wise with the A51? So it's still at around, it's actually around a lot of prices, but 300 for a new one, 228 for the refurbished one, and then we have 260. And if you go down, the cheapest you can get this for is actually I believe I saw 189 for the Verizon version. So the phone is super cheap now, depending on, if you want it new or refurbished or unlocked. But it's still a really nice deal. So basically, we have to talk about, did Android 11 make this phone much faster? So when this phone first came out, it had a lot of software, I won't say software problems, but it had a lot of like little animation stutters and stuff that would kind of make it feel like it was lagging and stuff like that. And that has been fixed with this Android 11 update. You do not get a ton of animation stutters and stuff like that. You still get them, here and there. It is a mid-range phone, but it's definitely a more faster and smoother experience. And we're talking about just on the base model. So on this 4 gigs of RAM model, we're not talking about like the 8 gigs. I'm sure that did not have the same problem. But this thing flies when just opening applications and just bouncing in and out of stuff. It's able to, do that without all of the lag and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and talk about the display, because I think that's one of the best things that have aged about this phone. So you have a Super AMOLED display. It's 6.5 inches, 1080p, 405 for the PPI. So basically, is there anything outdated about the display? Not really. The only thing that's really sort of missing is a high refresh rate. Samsung phones, their newer mid-rangers now have 90 hertz, 120 hertz. So basically, it really depends on the person. I don't think you need 90 hertz or 120 hertz. It's something that, it depends on the person. So some people, they really won't even notice it. Some people will. As you can see with the iPhones, they do not have 90 hertz, and it's not a huge deal with that. But I personally like 90 hertz, but it's not a deal breaker for people that aren't super tech savvy. If you're not super tech savvy, I don't think 90 hertz is going to be a big deal breaker. What I do think is awesome about this display, and I think it hits the nail on the head here, is that one, it's got slim bezels. Two, it's fairly bright, so it's really good to use outdoors, and it's extremely colorful. It has really great viewing angles, which is I like. So it hits all of the the essential things you really need for a display. It's bright, slim bezels, punch hole. It has a really nice immersive display here. So that is one thing that I really like about the A51's display. The A51 is rocking the Exynos 9611 in the Mali G72 GPU. You also have micro SD card support, 64 gigs of internal storage, or 128 and 4 gigs of RAM on the base model. So basically, here are your Geekbench scores, as you can see here. And like I said, I think performance-wise, the phone is pretty snappy here. I do want to talk about the Android 11, and people always ask about the toggles and stuff. So this has most of your toggles that you would need. Your secure folders is on here. Dolby Atmos is on here. Built-in screen recording. Of course, you don't have Samsung desktop support on, a mid-ranger. Samsung Kids is on here as well. So I think it has pretty much your essential things that you need. Also, your Samsung Edge is still on here. That works great. Really useful feature. That is one of my favorite things. The dual split screen application for these Samsung devices is just an awesome little thing to have, to be able to pull up, because I really don't use the dual screen on regular Android, like the split screen multitasking. I like that Samsung sort of puts it in here to sort of make you use it, make it really useful. I think that's really awesome as well. Now, your gaming experience on the A51 is still pretty good. You can see we can do smooth but extreme. You can go all the way up to HDR as well. So this phone actually does a great job with your gaming performance on here. It usually does not get hot. It gets a little warm, but definitely not hot. Would I consider this like a great gaming phone at this price point? No, I think you could definitely get a better phone at this price point if your intention is to game. But definitely for casual gaming, this phone can play PUBG, Call of Duty Mobile. I'm not sure about Fortnite. I don't think Fortnite on this one, especially with the base model. But for casual gaming, there's been nothing I haven't been able to play in the Play Store. It plays perfectly fine. You crank the graphics up, see if we get any lag. Yeah, we get a little bit of jitter here.
Let's go.
Maybe that was just because I changed. Yeah, we do get a little bit of jerk. Yeah, we definitely get a little bit of jerkiness when we crank those graphics all the way up. But like I said, yeah, that's kind of, it's kind of stuttering. So you might have to turn the graphics down. So that's what I said. I don't think it's the best at this price point, but you can definitely do casual gaming at some pretty decent settings. So I don't think it's, I think it's playing games on here is unplayable. It does a pretty decent job. Now this phone does have stereo, or not stereo, just single firing speakers, and I wish it had stereo speakers because it's pretty easy to cover, a single firing speaker up. That's what I always say. Even if you don't cover it up all the way, just kind of slightly, you can kind of, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I always prefer stereo speakers. But these do sound pretty good for just a single firing speaker. And they do get fairly loud as well. So they sound pretty solid. I think that they're loud enough for watching movies, listening to music out loud. I think they're perfectly fine. Alright, so this phone does have a fingerprint scanner under the display. It does work really well. I think it's even faster with this Android 11 update. When it first came out, it used to have, again, like a little animation lag. But now I think it works. It feels a little bit smoother. You also have face unlock on here. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, I can't really get it from, but that does work really well too. Yeah, I can't get it from behind the camera, but that works perfectly fine. This phone also has NFC as well. There's no sort of IP rating on here, and there's no, of course, any type of wireless charging on here. But I think for the price that you're paying, I think you're getting a good set of features here. Now, I do want to touch on the hardware. I think hardware has definitely aged really well with this phone. As you can see, it's got these psychedelic shifting colors on here. I think it looks really solid. Samsung has moved away from these sort of glossy plastic backs to a more matte finish, which I 100% support. That was one of the things with this phone. It's just like filming it, you kind of have to wipe it down a lot. But I think it still looks really good, really unique, especially when it hits the light here. I love how the camera module looks still. It still looks fairly modern. Power button, volume rockers. It's a pretty thin phone as well. The edges are sort of, it's not like super sharp, so it feels pretty solid in the hand as well. It feels comfortable. We have our headphone jack, USB Type-C speaker down there as well. So hardware wise, I think it still looks great. And like I said, the display on here is the icing on the cake. Slim bezels, punch hole. I think it still looks awesome. Now let's go ahead and talk about the photos on the A51. So you have a quad camera setup on here. You have a 48 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 5 megapixel macro and depth sensor. It shoots in 4K on the front and on the back, and you have a 32 megapixel selfie. I still think this phone takes some great photos. It definitely takes great photos for the price. So if you get it right now, you definitely won't be disappointed. Of course, you're going to have Samsung's image processing, which it depends on if you like more natural colors or more oversaturated. Samsung always leans to oversaturated, but everything looks solid on here. The ultra wide retains really good detail in color compared to the main camera as well. Indoor shots look awesome too. You get a good depth of field on here. Also, like I said, colors vary, but detail is there. Dynamic range is there. The video on here is solid. I'll show you that too. And yeah, so I have zero issues with the Galaxy A51's cameras. I think for the price, I think the cameras have definitely aged really well here. I think you're still getting a top-notch camera. Is it going to perform as good as some of the other phones in low light and stuff like that? No, but it does decent in lower light. It's just, it's a mid-ranger, so it's just not going to perform as well. But again, I don't see anybody buying this phone and complaining about the cameras. I think they're pretty solid. Alright, so I do want to discuss battery life. So you do have a 4,000 milliamp battery on here. And if you're like me and you're not doing a ton of heavy gaming stuff on your phone, the battery life will last you all day. My sort of issue with this phone is definitely the charging speeds. I've definitely feel the slower charging speeds compared to today's phones. So the charging speeds are at 15 watts, which I think is pretty slow for today's standards. So it does charge kind of slow. You have a 4,000 milliamp battery, so it can last you all day. And yeah, so I have no issues with battery life on this phone. Besides, it just kind of takes longer than I would like to charge, but it's really just, you know, more of a petty thing. But yeah, so overall, the A51 I think is extremely solid still for today. A lot of people don't like that they put the Exynos chip in here. I agree. I wish they would have went with a slightly stronger chip or a Snapdragon chip with this phone. I think it would have been better for that first initial launch as far as performance wise. But I still think it's overall a fairly solid phone if you get it at the right price. So thanks for watching this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.